What is up, my veggies? My name is VTR, and yes, I am recording this outside. I'm sorry if this sounds odd or anything like that. I really wanted to record this while it was on my thoughts, and this is like the only quiet area I can really get besides any outside noise, but it's the best I can do. Obviously, I can't control any of the nature sounds or anything like that. But I didn't want to wait till I got back home to record this because like this stuff is on my mind right now and I want to talk about it right now. So today I want to talk about indie horror. It's a little sit down video just talk about indie horror as a whole for a minute. I plan on doing a more in-depth video on this in the future, maybe as a VTR breakdowns. But I kind of just want to talk about it real quick while it's stuff on my mind, because I was looking at some stuff about FNAF and Poppy's Playtime, and this topic has been on my mind for a long time, ever since like Poppy's Playtime really came out. So this is kind of where it started. It really got me thinking about it. So the world of indie horror is what we're talking about today, and it's kind of a big deal when it comes to the horror community and the indie game horror community, especially like FNAF, Poppy Playtime, Hello Neighbor, Bendy the Ink Machine, Slender, Amnesia, all that stuff, Garden of Ban, just all the little indie horror games out there. So before I talk about, I guess I need to rewind to like, so I feel like a lot of indie horror is kind of, I don't know, it's, okay. So indie horror kind of got picked up its big steam, like its big boom at first, I think back in the Amnesia and Slender days. I don't remember what game came out first. Obviously when I do my whole breakdown I'll have more information and everything. This is just like more off the top of the mind thinking for this video, not really going super in depth, but yeah, obviously you saw like those little Amnesia and Slender. There were two big things, like Slender the 8 Pages and Slender the Arrival came out, and then you see all these other little smaller horror games come out, but nothing like really like has left the impact that I felt like those games have, like to a certain point. Like definitely Slender as well made a massive impact in the indie horror. A lot of games now do the find this many things in this spot and run away from the monster. A lot of them do that now. A lot of stuff in Rec Room is one of the easiest horror games people make in Rec Room. But not to say that's bad or anything. It's just to say it's been done a lot. A lot of people do it with their horror games, which isn't a bad thing. I'm not gonna say like that's a bad thing. I'm not saying it should be something different. I'm not saying anything like that. I do like a little, I don't know, I don't hate that, or anyway, let's move on to the next thing. So I felt like indie horror kind of stayed, like you had like your ones that were hits and people like were really talking about, but none of them really stuck. You had like stuff like Among the Sleep is one that comes to mind at the top of my head, but like besides that, that's the one I can think of off the top of my head, but like there was none that was like, oh yeah. There were obviously the big AAA ones like Outlast and all that, like Outlast and Evil Within and stuff like those games were like those were the big ones, but like then one day a little game that you probably never heard of, Five Nights at Freddy's came out, which was such an interesting thing when it first came out, because there were videos all over YouTube being like saying the scariest game I've played in years, and really blew up, and FNAF came out with a sequel after sequel and everything, and FNAF, and then a lot of other developers and stuff started to scrounge up to become the next FNAF. Some people actually genuinely tried to copy with like, I'm not counting fan games in that regard. I'm not gonna like trying like the hidden lore and simplistic gameplay and stuff like that, and just like really building a very interesting story. Some did it better, some did it worse. Someone I think that did a really decent job with it is Bendy and the Ink Machine. I think Bendy and the Ink Machine does that pretty well. I think they were one of the better ones. Also, Doki Doki was one that also, I'm not gonna say Doki Doki was trying to ride FNAF's coattails. I don't think, but definitely FNAF started this big indie horror boom for it, because it kind of started drifting off after the Slender Amnesia days, and then FNAF really brought it back up to speed, which I thought was a really cool, really interesting thing. And like FNAF was everywhere, and then we started getting other things like Bendy and Hello Neighbor. We'll talk about Hello Neighbor in a minute. And later down the road, Poppy's Playtime and Cartoon of Ban Ban, and all these other smaller ones too that I'm not even gonna really put into the conversation, because I don't really feel like, not that they don't deserve the recognition, that like it's just like I don't feel like they were trying to chase the similar thing, which I'm not kind of blame any of these games for really like obviously it is great to get inspired and take ideas and make them your own and things like that and get inspired by other things. It's great. But I really feel like there were some that really just like, but like I'm just saying the big ones that come to mind, I feel like really were like in that zeitgeist. Like I said, the big ones that always come to mind with me, I bring up Amnesia, but like Amnesia is one of the big, but also, I think like when it comes to that, so my ones that come to mind for me are like Bendy, FNAF, Slender, Poppy Playtime, Doki Doki, all those, which I'm not saying all those, especially like in the case of Doki Doki, I'm not saying that copied anything, because I feel like Doki Doki was a really unique thing, but I'm just saying the reason why I pulled Doki Doki in is because it came out during this whole big indie horror boom, I'd say, and if you ask me, it seems to me, some people might disagree with me on that, FNAF is what did it, at least for the indie horror scene. And there were some people that tried to there was people that tried to replicate it, and some weren't really trying to replicate it, but accidentally like started doing the same thing, or like, because I feel like Bendy was kind of one that was like big enough for people to like it and care for it and everything, and it was still its own thing, but there's definitely kind of a tad bit of that FNAF influence in there. I'm not gonna claim that the Meat Leaf guy made Bendy was like inspired by FNAF or not. I don't know if he was. I don't know. I'm not even gonna make that guess or not, but I'm just saying it's just like, I don't know, this is just like me rambling about stuff for this video mostly. But then we got, cause Hello Neighbor is one I really wanted to talk about. Because Hello Neighbor, when it was in its alphas and betas and all that, it was everywhere. It had such a big mass appeal because of the gameplay, how the neighbor learned and everything, and it's all that. It was really cool how the game played and everything. But when the game actually came out, a lot of people were like, okay, this is worse than the betas and alphas and everything. Personally, for me, like I haven't even finished Hello Neighbor, and I don't think it's bad. It's just I've never got around. And now Hello Neighbor has a spin-off game, has a prequel game, and a sequel game, and like a mid game too. It's like in between like that. It was like the Hello Guest. That was a thing too, which was, but I'm saying, that game was definitely one of the worst about trying to follow FNAF's coattails. I really do feel like they were, because Hello Neighbor was really just trying to just jump dead in there, like just straight up jumping into the frame, wanting MatPat to make theories, literally tweeting at him, being like, "Oh, game theory finds this interesting," and like, and you notice that he didn't make no theories or anything on anything past the first FNAF game, the first game. I don't think he even made any theories after the full game came out. I don't remember. Don't quote me on that, but like, and then we jump back to FNAF, because FNAF's at this point, we're starting to get the merchandise and the books and everything, and then that's where Hello Neighbor really started to, I guess, pick up steam. Hello Neighbor really started to pick up steam with like it's trying to do merchandise, books, and all that. And it really feels like that game specifically was jumping on FNAF and trying to be FNAF, and really, or trying to be the next FNAF, which, and was its downfall, because I heard the sequel wasn't that good or anything, and I haven't played it. I intend to, but I haven't at the moment. And then we jumped to that just about a couple years ago, 2 years ago I think now, to Poppy Playtime. Which, when Poppy Playtime first came out, they instantly were doing merch. Instantly felt like they were trying to follow that FNAF coattails. I really thought they were, and I think they did it a lot better than Hello Neighbor did, because Hello Neighbor kind of got lost in trying to replicate the FNAF formula and everything, and lost itself. I feel like, even though I think that Bendy definitely was trying to, not Bendy, Poppy was definitely trying to, was taking a lot of inspiration from FNAF, was definitely better at doing its own thing with its, not only wrong, the developers, some things they did were not the best, like the NFTs and all that stuff, but overall, I feel like, especially at where the game stands now with Project Playtime, Poppy's Playtime, and Chapter 3 coming out later this year, which is fairly interesting and everything. But one thing that really is really odd to me, especially when we get down to Poppy Playtime now, the fact that indie horror really started to get, and I feel like FNAF is kind of the one that's guilty of this, with it being mass marketed to kids or whatever, because if you look at, like, you go to the toys, the books, the merchandise, it really feels like, and I see now, it's not no different from back in, I guess it's not that different from back when I was a kid, and watching horror movies and all that, but, like, I didn't see merchandise, like, push as much for that stuff and everything, and I don't know. It's really taken off with kids, and then some of it, like in the FNAF instance, so part of it is like, okay, I kind of got a Goosebumps kind of vibe with the Fazbear Fright books and the Tales from the Pizzaplex books. Really, so I was kind of okay with that. But then, like, Poppy's Playtime really, like, I feel like Poppy's Playtime is kind of eased back on that a bit, and it's just, some of it's just really weird. And I'm gonna go into more in depth about all this stuff in a future video, but this is just like a sit down and talk video. Another thing that I think is, but the most recent one to, like, I feel like it's trying to ride, not the coattails of FNAF, because I think we're at the point where riding the coattails of FNAF is done. I feel like riding the coattails of FNAF, that's kind of done. Now developers are wanting to ride the coattails of Poppy's Playtime, because Poppy Playtime blew up. They already got a movie deal and all that stuff, merchandise. Surprised it's not a book yet. But Poppy's Playtime, though, started this one, and right now I've only played the first one, Garten of Banban. Yes, I'm bringing up Garten of Banban. Garten of Banban is such a odd one to throw into the race, because they really feel like they're trying to ride that and also, like, because, like, you kind of, like, got a whole subgenre now, like, of indie horror. It's like indie mascot horror. Like, FNAF's got that with Freddy Fazbear. You got Bendy and the Ink Machine. I don't know if Hello Neighbor falls into that or not, but I know, like, Poppy's Playtime definitely does, and definitely Garten of Banban, which I still need to play the second one of that. I'm not going to get too much into, but that one, like, felt like they already were trying to push merch and everything with that game, and already trying to just do everything they can to push this franchise forward. But where indie horror currently stands, I think, is at a decent spot. And that's not even to indie gaming as a whole, because I feel like not just with indie horror, but indie games around this time were booming too. You had Undertale, Cuphead, all that stuff was also popping up, and got roped in a lot with these indie horror games because they were indie. and a lot of people would notice these games and everything more, and associate them right alongside these other games, which is always cool. Because every time I see like these like things and everything, those ones are all like, especially Undertale and Undertale and Cuphead are definitely included a lot of the time. And there are something I haven't even talked about, like Rainbow Friends. That was one in the indie horror scene I didn't even think of. That's a Roblox game that kind of blew up a little bit. And Granny was one too that blew up. That was really big for a bit, but then like lost its steam. But the reason though with Granny though, I don't think I was trying to chase anything. And another one which is really interesting is something back to Roblox with Piggy, which was a Peppa Pig parody like game with of Granny, but then turned into its own thing where it actually has official merchandise now, which is insane. I remember the first time I saw a plushie and an action figure in Walmart. I thought that was really odd and interesting. But it just shows you how crazy the world of indie horror has gotten. You've got like all these little one-offs that are like really cool that a lot of people don't want to talk about that much. Like an example, or don't talk about that much. Like this one was around for a bit. I think the hype on it's kind of died down because it's like, but it's the Amanda something. I don't remember the name of it. I picked it up. I haven't played it yet, but I picked it up. I don't remember what it's called. It's Amanda something. That's another one that's out there. And then like just indie horror and indie games in general kind of had, I feel like they're starting to pick that steam back up because I feel like it's been on a downward spiral for a few years. But like right now for those communities and stuff are definitely with like FNAF getting the movie, and we just got Ruined DLC, and we got the FNAF Help Wanted 2 coming out. And then Poppy's Playtime has a movie deal, has their spin-off game, and Chapter 3 coming later this year. And Garten of Banban. Garten of Banban's a whole another entity on its own. But I think that's really all I can say about this. I want to do a more in-depth video on this in the future. It might be a lot of retreading what I said in this video, but it'll be a lot more fancier format and everything. But this is definitely just like me talking off the top of my head about a topic that's been on my mind for a long time. And indie horror is just like such a genre that I've kind of become. It's a big part of this channel too. I play a lot of indie horror games on here. Oh, another one was Tattletale. If you remember Tattletale, that's another one. Tattletale. That one was everywhere for a bit. It's crazy just to think about those indie horror games that were just. Does Sally Face count? Does Sally Face count as indie horror? I don't know. Would you count Sally Face? I don't know. Would you count Sally Face? I don't know. But yeah, that's really all I've got to say for this video, guys. I know it's a little weird, and I'm sorry there hasn't really been uploads the past like week and a half. Like I said, I've been out of town, and I'm still currently out of town, and I will be back. So I might get this uploaded today. I don't know. But thank you guys for watching this video. I hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you guys for joining and watching. I know I look like a mess. I'm literally just wearing a random black shirt right now. I look awful, but I really wanted them to film this video. But I hope you guys enjoyed nonetheless, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!